there, my name is Rajwal and I'm the CEO of Evolve ETFs. Today I'm going to give you a bit of a look back in 2020 to some of the key developments in the cybersecurity industry, and also a look forward into 2021 in terms of some of the key developments that we expect to take place in the industry as well. We launched Canada's first cybersecurity ETF back in September of 2017. The ticker is CYBR on the TSX. And it's ended up with some phenomenal performance, top decile for every major period, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, as well as since inception. And today it's actually Canada's largest thematic technology ETF listed here. The case is really simple for cybersecurity. It all hinges around data. Data, as many of you know, has become our most precious resource. So the protection of that data has become critical. Effectively, it's become a non-discretionary spend for every major organization and government agency worldwide. Now, when you think a little bit about cybersecurity, it's almost like the utilities section of the technology industry. Cybercrime continues to grow, continues to cost the global economy a lot of money. It's expected in the next few years that's going to result in about $10 trillion cost to our global economy. So it's become a very important priority for every organization around the world today. One of the key features of cybersecurity is the fact that the industry has a massive shortage of human capital. In fact, right now there's about 3.5 million job vacancies in the cybersecurity industry, so there's negative unemployment. Why that's important for a fund like ours is because of that human capital shortage. What that results in is about 75% of all of the cybersecurity work that's performed for our Fortune 500 companies, for our government agencies, is actually outsourced. Usually, if you're going to outsource your cybersecurity work, you're probably going to do it with a large, reputable, regulated, publicly listed company, which is what makes up our cybersecurity fund. So now let's talk really quickly about 2020. I would say that there was 3 big developments that took place in 2020. I mean, there was a lot, but 3 primary developments. The first one, many of us have probably forgotten. This time last year, January 2020, we were all getting quite concerned about potential conflict between the US and Iran. People were more concerned about it spinning into a cyber war rather than a physical war. So what was taking place was a lot of the government agencies, especially in the US, as well as a lot of major companies, decided to beef up their cybersecurity infrastructure. The reason why most of us have forgotten about it, number 2, is because COVID kicked in. COVID obviously started to rear its head predominantly in March of 2020, turned our world, turned our life upside down, resulted in all of us obviously going to a work from home environment, and companies weren't ready. 85% of companies did not feel that they had adequate cybersecurity infrastructure or training for their employees. It's quite one thing to build security perimeter around your central data and hubs. It's quite another thing to have to build it around each individual's home. And as I said, training became a big initiative and priority for companies. Teaching employees how to do things and use things like dual level authentication or the company's virtual private network as well became a really high priority. The third development is all of the hacks that took place last year. It was a very busy year for cyber criminals. It was their most lucrative year as well. It's estimated that cyber criminals made out with about $25 to $30 billion of things like ransom. Now, of course, when it becomes lucrative, guess what that sparks? That sparks more cybercrime, and it sparks more people becoming cyber criminals as well. We started to move into a world where it became like organized crime, where it wouldn't just be one individual hacker trying to breach systems anymore. It would actually be a team of individuals where one person might have a specific skill set in one area of cyber crime and another would have another specific area of expertise. They would band together and take on a collaborative attack on companies as well as individuals as well. Some of the big hacks that took place last year, many of you remember Nintendo made a lot of news, Twitter with their spear phishing incident, Marriott had over 5 million hotel guests records breached, Garmin had over 500 million records breached as well. But the big mega attack last year was definitely SolarWinds. For those of you not too familiar with SolarWinds, SolarWinds creates the software called Orion, and Orion is used by a lot of the Fortune 500 companies, and very importantly, a lot of the government agencies, specifically US government agencies as well. It's anticipated that it was a group of nation state actors from Russia that planted this malware in the Orion update. And we don't exactly know when it was planted, sometime around Q4 of 2019 and Q1 of 2020, but went undetected until about November, towards the end of November of 2020. So it was sitting in a lot of these companies' systems, accessing data obviously for espionage purposes as well. Now, an embarrassing situation for a very large cybersecurity company called FireEye emerged because they ended up getting hacked. It's almost like a criminal going into a police station and holding up the station. It's a little bit embarrassing. But what's been interesting to see is that FireEye may very well end up becoming the hero in this story. Because they ended up getting breached, they were able to notify SolarWinds. SolarWinds was able to go and notify all of the other clients that they may have been breached. If FireEye didn't find this, it's entirely possible that this could have sat in systems hibernating and hijacking data for many more months. So kudos to FireEye for finding this. As we go through this year, we're definitely going to start to see the repercussions. Needless to say, the SolarWinds attack was the biggest cyber breach of our lifetime, and I think we'll start to see the repercussions of it, unfortunately, this year. The Biden administration came out towards the end of last year saying, shortly after the SolarWinds attack, that cybersecurity was going to be one of the key priorities for the Biden, one of the top 3 priorities for the Biden administration in 2021. And what that means is there's probably going to be some policies in terms of data protection and data privacy. There may very well be some policies requiring major companies to actually have a minimum spend as a percentage of their IT budget on cybersecurity. There may also be requirements for companies to engage in cyber insurance. All of this is positive for cybersecurity companies because it should result in more contracts for them. And obviously that means more revenue as well. So that's going to be a big development for 2021. We're going to continue to see more cybercrime. I think everybody could have guessed that, especially as it's become so lucrative for cyber criminals. We're going to have to see more training for individuals to be able to use proper cybersecurity practices as well. And I think we're also going to start to see greater adoption of artificial intelligence to help with predictive threat measurement as well by cybersecurity companies for a lot of the companies that they work for.